Hi, I'm Peter Prevost. I'm a civil engineer. I'm an author. I dabble in magic tricks, and I also do data science. And to do that, I need to do a lot of writing. And I use Emacs and Emacs Writing Studio specifically to do almost all my computer needs. Now, Emacs Writing Studio is a configuration of GNU Emacs that is specially written for authors, researchers, students, or anyone who needs to manage and publish written ideas. Emacs Writing Studio is based on the workflow, which is a typical workflow of any written project. We start with inspiration. We stand on the shoulders of giants, so we read material from other people. We might listen to recordings or watch videos. Now, Emacs Writing Studio can help you access those materials and organize them in a bibliography and manage them accordingly. The second step is ideation, which is when your own ideas start to form. And to be able to do that, you need a note-taking system, and you need to be able to manage those notes. You need to be able to link those notes to your bibliography, and Emacs Writing Studio does all that. The third step is the actual writing process, the production process. So in that process, we do the actual writing, and Emacs Writing Studio is based on a program within Emacs, which is called Org Mode. Now, Org Mode is a very powerful tool that can do a lot of different things. So that's the production phase. And the last phase is the publication phase. So that's when we take our Org Mode files and turn them into a print-ready PDF for a paperback book, or we turn it into an ebook, or we turn it into a website, or it could be an article for PDF or a journal, or converted to LaTeX. All that is possible with Emacs and Emacs Writing Studio. So why would you use Emacs? First of all, it's plain text. That means you're never locked into any format. Anything we do here, any org mode file can be easily read in any other text editor. You might not have all the advantages of Emacs, but your text is still accessible. Also, freedom. Emacs is what's called a malleable computer system. You can actually change the code of Emacs itself while it's running. Now, within Emacs Writing Studio, we're not going to talk about writing any Emacs Lisp. The whole Emacs Writing Studio book and also these videos will be no code. But you can write code, and that's what thousands of people have done, and that's how Emacs Writing Studio came together. So in Emacs, you make sure that the computer behaves the way you want, and that you don't have to behave the way your computer wants. So that's freedom. But also longevity. Emacs has been around for almost 50 years, and GNU Emacs, the version that Emacs Writing Studio is based on, this year will celebrate its 40th birthday. So it's highly unlikely that you're going to be stuck with your files and you can't do anything with them. And because it's open source, you will always be able to run this system on whatever computer you might be using in the future as well. And last but not least, you'll be using, once you master Emacs, you'll be using one system for many different tasks. So there's no context switching. There's no, oh, now I'm using my writing app, and now I'm using my bibliography app, and they all have different key bindings. Now I'm using my task manager. So that's other key bindings, so I need to click on those icons. Within Emacs and Emacs Writing Studio, once you've learned the skills, you can use them for all the different tasks. There are some disadvantages of using Emacs. There's not really any mobile solution for it, so it's a laptop or computer-based system. There's no real good functionality for collaborative writing, although it is possible for more advanced users. And it does have a steep learning curve, but myself and many other people have spent all the time to learn Emacs so that you don't have to. So besides this video, I'll be linking to a lot of other videos that explain different contexts and different concepts in a lot more detail than I can. So the whole purpose of why I wrote Emacs Writing Studio is, first of all, to create the perfect configuration for myself, but then to share that with others so that you don't have to spend the time that I spent. But enough talking, let's start doing. So let's get started with Emacs. But before we do, I would like to increase the font size because it's a little bit small. Now you see that in Emacs Writing Studio there are no menus, but there is a shortcut to get to them. So pressing F10, and I go down to Options, and in Options there is Set Default Font. Hit Enter, a little pop-up shows up. and let's increase this to 16 because that's nice visible for this screencast. Now we can also save this to make sure it stays like that for future sessions. So we go to options again, and now save options. Now you see here that down at the bottom of the screen, which is called the echo area, that the system has written to a file called custom.el. Now that's an eLisp file. So this is an example how you can configure your Emacs writing eLisp code without actually running any eLisp code with the customization system. Now what does this mean, custom.el? So with Control X and D, I can go to the directory editor. So here's the folder Emacs Writing Studio, which in my case contains all the configuration. Now 3 files in this folder. We have the custom.el that was just marked off. There's ews.el and there's also init.el. So these 3 eLisp files, they drive Emacs. I'll give you an idea what an eLisp file looks like. Then there's a lot of commentaries here and a lot of code. Now you don't have to understand this to use Emacs Writing Studio. So I'm going to quickly close that to avoid any confusion. So init.el is the startup file that all Emacs setups use, and this init.el basically converts your vanilla GNU Emacs to Emacs Writing Studio by downloading a lot of packages and installing those packages and configuring these packages. So these are packages for bibliography management, for note-taking, for a thesaurus, lots of different things that I'll run through in subsequent videos. There's also ews.el, and that is a file with some custom functions that I've written to make life a little bit easier. Now maybe in future that will be a package as well, so then that will be installed differently. So these 2 files, init.el and custom.el, you need to download these from the GitHub repository. The link is in the description below, as they say on YouTube. And where do you need to save that file? Well, you need to save it in the user Emacs directory. To find out where your Emacs user directory lives, you type Ctrl-H for help, and then the V for variable, and you'd start typing Emacs Emacs user, it's the other way around, user Emacs directory. So after user Emacs, you can hit tab. If you're still using vanilla Emacs, it might look a little bit different, but you go to this variable and this screen pops up. And you see that in my case, this is my user Emacs directory. So this is the place where I need to store these init and ews.el files. It will be different on your system, but if you install them there and you then issue the restart Emacs command, then you will be entering Emacs Writing Studio. Now, let's go to a few basics first about issuing commands. Because there's no real menu and there's limited mouse functionality, it's all keyboard driven. So you need to issue commands to Emacs to get it to do what you want. The one way of doing it is by typing Alt-X. Now Emacs users call this Meta-X because in the old keyboards in the 1980s, it was called the Meta key, not the Alt key. And then we can start typing commands. Emacs Writing Studio uses the Vertigo auto-completion. So what that means is that it's a very quick way to get to things that you need to find. So let's say you want to use a function from the ews.el file. They all start with ews dash. And now you see that this list is shortened to only 15 functions, and now you can choose your function, for example, ews Olivetti, which changes the screen to remove distractions. If I run this function again, we go back to where it was. So that's one way of issuing commands. Remembering all these commands will be cumbersome. So Emacs uses keyboard shortcuts to make it easy for you. Now it might sound daunting to have to remember all these shortcuts, but it will become part of your muscle memory. And frankly, it's much easier than trying to remember which icon to click on, and then the software developer changes the design, moves the icon, and you have to learn all over again. how do keyboard shortcuts work? There's a lot of use of modifier keys. So the Control key, the Alt key, and the Shift key. So if I start typing Control C, now Emacs will look at the context in which I'm in. So now I'm in the directory editor. So within that, it says after Control C, there's a few options, and the little pop-up at the bottom of the screen in the echo area is the which key package, which helps you to remember your keystrokes. So I can type in A for awk agenda, or capture, and awk store link. We'll get to those later. And there's also W, which is a prefix key. So Control C W is the Emacs Writing Studio prefix key. And then from there, I have a bunch of other prefixes as well. So for example, I can go now to the O, which is the EWS Olivetti function, which is a package to create a distraction-free screen. And again, if I type CWBO, by the way, on the top of the screen, oh, that was the wrong shortcut, CWO, we go back to where we were. And by the way, I also use the keycast package. So on the top of the screen, you can see what I am typing. There are also some other ways to remember your keystrokes, or to find out which keystroke belongs to which command. First of all, if we type Alt-X and then look for a command, you can see that between brackets here in purple, the actual keystroke is given to you. So that helps you run that command. And also, if you run this command, it actually says here in the echo area at the bottom, there's a little pop-up message that says, hey, you can actually run this with a keystroke command as well. Next way to find out, if you're reading about a function and you want to know what keystroke it is, Control H for help, then F for function, and let's say we want to go to EWS Olivetti, hit enter. Now a little help file shows up, and it says here the key bindings. So the global key map, now the global key map is the map of keyboard shortcuts that applies to all different modes, is, as we saw, Control C, W, O. Some keyboard shortcuts only apply to different modes, and I'll explain modes in a minute. We can also find out which keystroke does what. So for example, if I'll type Control H and then K, so that's help about a keystroke, and now I type Control C W O, it will do that again, Control H K, Control C W O, and that same screen pops up again. So we now see that this CWO, Control C W O keystroke is connected to the Olivetti function. So now let's start talking about modes. A mode in Emacs is like an app on your phone. So you have Emacs basic functionality, and that applies to whatever you're doing. But Emacs has different contexts. So for example, now I am in the directory editor mode. So this is a mode that can help you manage your files. And there's other modes, for example, org mode, which is one that we'll use a lot, is a special mode for managing text and exporting text and managing actions, for example. You can have markdown mode, which is another writing mode, plain text mode. So each of those different modes have different types of functionality, and different functions are then available to you. Different shortcuts are also available to you. So let's try this out. If I can go open a document, so there's Control X, Control F is the find file function. So the find file function either opens an existing file or creates a new one. The little pop-up menu shows up, and I'm in the Emacs Writing Studio folder, and I know I need to go to the documents folder. So I type doc, hit tab. So there's a bit of auto completion there. And the one that I want is orgdemo.org. So we have orgdemo.org, and I hit enter, and the file opens up. So this is an org mode file. Now we can use Olivetti mode to make this a little bit easier to read. Now we see on the top of this file here, the first 4 lines are metadata. Now every line of metadata starts with a hashtag plus, then a keyword, a colon, and then the content of that metadata. So there's the title, demonstration of org mode syntax, there's the author name, there's a date, And there's also a bibliography attached to this file. What you also see is here there's different colors are applied to this metadata. So this is an Emacs theme. So a theme is a set of definitions that assigns a color based on the type of text that you're looking at. So these colors have nothing to do with the output of the document. They are just to make the screen easier to read. So the title is a nice bold and a dark blue. We also have different headings here. They have different colors based on their level, and so on. So to show you a little bit of, say, org mode functionality and how it's context specific. The cursor is now on what's called an org mode timestamp. So that's this date in ISO 8601 format between a lesser than and a greater than sign. And like for example, I can now use the shift up and the shift down key to change this date. So let's go to 2025 to February the 2nd. Okay, so now the date is changed. But this keystroke, shift up and shift down, they only do this when the cursor is actually within this context. If I move it to the end, shift up and shift down don't do anything, right? So Emacs is context aware. Also in org mode, we see different level headings. And the little triangle here is an indicator for the heading. So that's a special package, which is an Emacs prettification package. I'll show you in a second how to create a heading, but one of the good things about Emacs is that we can also collapse these headings to create a screen that is a bit easier to edit. Okay, and then with Shift tab, we can do this for the whole file. These headings, how do you type a heading is they actually start with an asterisk, space, and you now see that org mode changes that asterisk in one of those arrows or triangles because that's an indicator of that. When the triangle points down, it's an indicator that this you see in the full heading, and when we collapse it, you'll see that the triangle points to the right. So that's a nice little indicator to show you whether you're seeing the whole text or not. We can also do different types of text and lists. A lot of that is explained in the book. Also, the org mode manual is very good as well, and I'll show you how to get that in a second. We can type italic text. Now, italic text is between forward slashes. So if I hit Alt-Enter, I create a new list item. If I now type a forward slash, this is italic text. Close that. And now you see the text has changed to italic. If I remove the cursor, because I've configured Emacs Writing Studio to not show those markers, but we don't want to completely hide them, so there's a special package that pops them back up when the cursor is in this context. So that makes it easy, very easy to edit the way your text looks. That's it. We can also have lists. It's very easy to make lists. You can change the type with the shift left and shift right keys. And everything here that you see is plain text. Hyperlinks as well. So I hyperlink, how do I create one? It's Control-C, Control-L. Now it asks me for the link. Pick a website, Provost.net, which is a non-existing website, and then let's call that homepage. Now, you can also open those links. So Control-C, Control-O opens the link, and it will open it in your relevant browser. So that's your default browser in your system. You can also read websites within Emacs, but that's something for another video. Links can also be internal links and citations, etc., etc. You see, we can also add images. So here's a little image. An image is just a link really to an image file. It also has some attributes, so it's only 100 pixels wide, so I only see the little thumbnail. But for example, I can add other attributes for HTML in this case, and in HTML I want the width to be 600 and I want the title to be Emacs splash screen. And that will become apparent when we start exporting it. So the beauty here is that we then can export the same file and have all different types of attributes, whether you export it to HTML or PDF, etc. Org mode can also do tables and captions and so on and so on. Mathematics, you'll need LaTeX installed for this, but org mode can also preview mathematics. And here's one of Ramanujan's beautiful formulas for pi. And last but not least, we can also have citations. And I'll explain all this in detail in another video. But a citation, again, is a link. So I can click Ctrl-C, Ctrl-O. That opens the CETA citation package. And then I can open PDF files, follow links, or create notes, etc. Again, that's explained in future videos. And here at the bottom, last but not least, we add a bibliography. Now this is org mode, and it all looks sort of pretty, but underneath it is just plain text. And I'll demonstrate this to you and also then demonstrate what a mode actually does. If I type Alt-X and then text mode, now this file is shown as a normal text mode file. So now this is what it looks like under the hood. So you see all these asterisks, 1 or 2 asterisks means different heading. All this, these markers show up. You also see how the hyperlinks are constructed. The image is visible in text mode because text mode can do this as well. And the LaTeX is an image, so that's also visible. But if I now go to Alt-X org mode, again, and just do this again, now we're back in org mode and we have all this functionality available to us. The last thing I'd like to show you is then how you can export this file, and let's say you've just written this as an article, and then how to export that to an HTML file or a PDF file or even a Word document if you choose. Now Ctrl-C, Ctrl-E opens the Emacs export dispatch, and you see there's a whole bunch of options here for all these different formats. Now H is for HTML, and then if I type the O, it will export this org mode file to HTML. It will manage all the bibliography, the images, etc., and opens it in our default browser. So O, there we go, and go to the browser, and here is the HTML file. So this HTML file has obviously exactly the same content. You see the numbers, the headings are numbered, but that's something we can configure. You could also configure for it to have a table of contents. There's lots of different configuration options, which we'll cover in the last video. The design of this HTML depends on the CSS that's related to it. Again, that is also configurable. So then we have the different types of text, as you saw in the org mode file. There's our lists, we have hyperlinks, images. Remember we set this at a width of 600 pixels. Hover over this, the title will show up that we gave it. There's a table, mathematics. If we export to HTML, that's done by math checks. And here's our citations and the references. So that's a demonstration of exporting an org mode file to HTML. But wait, there's more. This same file can also be exported to LaTeX, for example. Now what I'll do is I'll add a little bit at the bottom here in the image. So for LaTeX, for example, I want attr LaTeX, and the width is 0.5 \text width. Good, okay. So if you understand LaTeX, you know what that means. So now CE for our export dispatch. In this case, now we go to L for LaTeX and O for exported and open the file. Now Emacs can open PDF files natively. Shift P to show the whole page. So here's the whole page exported to PDF. Looks exactly the same. This is in the article LaTeX class, but you can edit this as you like. You see there's the mathematics and there's the references, etc. I can do the same thing also to EPUB and to Word documents. Lots of different formats are possible. So this was just a quick demonstration of the capabilities of Emacs, and by no means a comprehensive guide. You can follow the link below to my website, or if you want to support my work, you can purchase the Emacs Writing Studio ebook. And in the description below, there's also some links to other creators who develop some comprehensive introductions to Emacs. In the next video, we'll start looking at the first step of the Emacs Writing Studio workflow, which is inspiration. So that's where we're going to explain how to read ebooks, how to listen to music, how to watch videos, and how to surf the web, all within the comfort of your Emacs Writing Studio. Thanks for your attention, and I hope to see you soon.